Now, trade unions have criticised reports that the government could overrule recommendations from the independent bodies that advise on public sector pay. It comes after the Times reported that pay rises of 6% could be blocked because of fears that they would add to inflation.
Well, hang on a minute. This is what the government was telling us just a few months ago when the pay review bodies were recommending crappy real terms pay cuts for public sector workers.
When it comes to the issue of pay, we have accepted in full the independent recommendations of the pay review bodies.
We accepted in full the recommendations of what is an independent process, the pay review body process.
The government has entirely accepted the independent pay review body's recommendations.
So now it seems that's not the case when the pay review body recommends a slightly higher crappy real terms pay cut than the government would like. As for this...
OK, your colleague Gillian Keegan over at Education says that big pay rises for teachers would be inflationary.
It's just another Tory government con. What they're saying is that public sector workers who kept this country going during the pandemic, who've already suffered more than a decade of crappy real terms pay cuts, should accept yet another crappy real terms pay cut so the government can bring down inflation. It's just complete bollocks. It's been debunked over and over again by economists, but even the Prime Minister can't stop himself running around the country repeating it.
Look, the most important thing we can do to help people is to control inflation. We've got to reduce inflation. That's what's making life difficult for nurses and for everyone else in the country. And a big part of how we are going to grip and reduce inflation is by having restraint when it comes to pay settlements.
And so is the Chancellor.
Strike action is holding back growth. It's also leading to cancelled operations and school closures. When will you resolve these disputes?
We want to resolve the public sector strikes as quickly as we can. We're prepared to be completely reasonable. We will talk about anything except measures that will entrench high inflation.
They're even sending out hapless government ministers to shamelessly repeat it.
So, one of the factors that we have to consider, particularly at a time of high inflation, is if we do inflation matching pay rises, that can actually drive inflation further.
But it's completely untrue and they know it. How many times do I have to point this out? If a private sector company increases its wages, yes, that goes directly into the cost of making that product or service, and that might end up increasing the price. But that's not the case with public sector workers such as healthcare and education, which are free at the point of use. That means consumers don't pay for them directly, and so they don't affect the inflation statistics. The Prime Minister knows it. The government's refusal to pay our teachers, our doctors, our nurses, what we all know they're worth, is just another one of its crappy political choices. And now it's shamelessly trying to cause division with the public by conning them with a justification for it which it knows has been rubbished by most economists.